great trust, faith, or confidence is a good place to begin. When I say trust, faith, or even confidence, I don't mean blind belief. I'm talking about a trust that grows out of our experience. It may be limited, it may not be complete or perfect, that's fine. But based on the actual experience that we have by practicing properly and living a wholesome life, this trust, this confidence naturally grows. Again, not some blind belief or hope or even expectation, but firmly based in our experience. This trust in the practice naturally grows. You might say the universe starts silently smiling at itself, and you can see this. As human beings, the other side of that is naturally a kind of a doubt, what is called actually a great doubt that remains. You might say, yes, our trust, our confidence grows. Hindrances are dissolving. The way is becoming clear. And yet, we don't blindly follow or close off ourselves to remaining doubt. To put it very simply, what does remain as our confidence grows, our trust coming into accord with the practice, confirming the practice in our bones? Yes, yes. But does something remain? We must not be blind to that either. Does something remain? If it does, that's where we naturally apply ourselves. Please do beware of mind states, so-called kensho experiences, illuminations, insights, glimpses, and so on. These things naturally happen if we are practicing correctly. All of a sudden, things fall into place, or maybe that doubt completely disappears. These are valuable experiences on the way, but we must be careful not to mistake them for the way itself. If you have an experience like that, just as when you have an experience of intense pain, acknowledge it, savor it, take it in. What is it? Taste it fully, know it from inside, and then continue on, continue on. What is the real point of Buddhist, Zen Buddhist practice? To put it very simply, the self-delusion, the delusion of self, comes naturally to its own end. This is the entrance of Buddhism and of Zen. The self-delusion, that is the delusion of a self, comes undone. It comes to its own end once and for all. This is the beginning, in a sense, of real practice. Practically speaking, for many of you now, having gone through perhaps 6 months of all kinds of extreme and extraordinary, very unusual experiences, demands being put on you, perhaps, limitations. You may have a sense of fatigue after this. It's quite natural. Huh? You may also have a renewed realization of this impermanence, as it's called in Buddhism. Oh, yeah, this is not just a Buddhist concept, is it? No, it's not. It's also spoken of, for example, as the one great matter of life and death, or birth and death. It's kind of hard not to have a glimpse of this in the present situation, isn't it? In a sense, it's a wonderful invitation to stop escaping, to stop running away from what is right here, always, right under our feet. To stop running and to settle into what is really here. When you really see through what this is, here, now, you won't go running off again looking for something. But to really see it through, oh yes, you kind of see it, but you don't. You get an idea when you read a book or listen to somebody speak, but then it's gone the next day. No, it's worthless. It's less than worthless. The self-delusion that is the delusion of a self, that itself must be let go. It must come to its own end once and for all. This is the basis of Buddhism and of Zen practice. How do we actually do that? I have gone through in some detail the posture, the physical posture, the breathing, the mental attitude that is needed to enter samadhi, or concentrated oneness, and to sustain that through the day, through the night. To, in a sense, nourish this great trust and this great doubt until they become inseparable. People like to have a roadmap. They like to know when to turn left at the great doubt and when to turn right for a little more faith or something. But I'm afraid it's not quite that kind of a thing. You already have the precious treasure. It's in your hands. But to realize it, not in your head or even in your so-called mind, in your bones. Otherwise, you know what happens. It's kind of clear, but then it's not. It's a symptom of the dis-ease, that's all. So, to give all of ourselves in the practice. How do we do that? Well, frankly, I would respond, how can you not do that? How can you not give all of yourself to this precious practice? If you open up and see what it really is, how can you not give all of yourself to it? You can't stand on the edge catching a glimpse. Have you ever really fallen in love? We say head over heels in love. Have you ever really fallen in love? Well, if you do, you have a very good sense of what Zen is, how it works. What happens when we really fall in love? Well, where's the separation between you and the one you love? Isn't that precisely what love is? That separation is gone. Hmm? Isn't that what love is? Hmm? You don't stand on the edge when you're really in love. You dive in, don't you? Hmm? Does fear hold you back when you're really in love? I don't think so. What remains when you're really in love? Huh? Everything? Nothing. The beloved? We can't stand on the edge and try to catch a glimpse. We must dive in. We must give all of ourselves. How do you do that? Well, practically speaking, the proper physical posture, breathing, the proper mental attitude, continuing it throughout the day and night. I've been speaking a lot recently about the need for the practice to be, for example, constant and complete. This weekend is a wonderful chance, opportunity to confirm that in your own bones. But that's not quite giving all of ourselves. Giving all of ourselves is, in a sense, more basic than all of that. As important as the posture is, please learn it properly. The breath is very important to know how to breathe properly. And of course, in a sense, most important, the mental attitude that we have. So that not only are we concentrating on something, whether it be the Zazen itself, our breath, a koan, or whatever. Not just to concentrate on that, but to realize that it is concentrating on you. It is holding and sustaining you. Unless that concentration becomes that total and complete, it's very difficult to stop the mind from just constantly wavering. So by patiently, properly practicing over time, it becomes clear. Yes, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes discipline. That's right. But what becomes clear, if you're doing it properly and correctly, is that that seamless concentration, so to speak, is not really something that we are developing. In the beginning, yes, it is. We need to bring ourselves back when our mind wanders. Yes, yes. But that's, in a sense, not yet Zazen. Zazen is when the concentration is so total that we could say the universe is concentrating on itself. And when that disappears, you might say, there is nothing to concentrate on. And yet, that concentration freely turns to whatever is needed at the moment, seamlessly, without sticking to anything, especially to itself. So, in a sense, the most important point in the practice is to go from this literally self-practice, where we are bringing ourselves to the practice. Perhaps to some extent you realize you are fighting against yourself, your desires, your expectations, your hopes, and so on. But if you give all of yourself patiently, you start to see those hindrances, those obstacles are not a real problem. They're not a real problem. They cannot obstruct this, can they? They cannot get in the way of this. pain in the leg can be a very big problem. I'm familiar with the territory, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is what the mind does with it. Huh? If we're practicing properly, nothing can really get in the way. Nothing. Even if something does arise, a broken leg, so you can't practice in the way you're used to, that's just an opportunity to find a new way to practice. It's not a real hindrance or an obstacle. Nothing can really get in the way of the practice. If something can get in the way, see what you're doing wrong and correct it. This is where proper guidance by someone who has actually been through it is so precious. This is why we have a weekend retreat like this. It's a precious opportunity. Please make best use of it. Huh? You must get to the point where you are practicing from here, not practicing in order to get somewhere, anywhere, but practicing from this. There's no other way. It's as simple as that. And yet the mind can make it very, very difficult. So there are methods, the sitting itself, the breathing, a koan as a way of anchoring yourself, so that your mind does not go into various digressions and ideas and concepts and so on. The self, which is a self-delusion, is split. I trust you have seen this from your own practice. It becomes unmistakably clear. What we call the self is actually not a self at all, it's split. It is and it isn't. It's satisfied, but it's not. It's living, but it's going to die. It wants to do good, but sometimes it does bad. It seeks pleasure, but it can't avoid pain. Please don't delude yourself. The self, by its very nature, is split. Until you see that, you will just be like a cat chasing its tail. The self, by its very nature, is split. And neither Humpty Dumpty nor anyone else can put those pieces back together again. That very effort is split. Zen practice is, in a word, splitting from that split. That's the way we used to talk when I was young. Man, let's split from this place. This is boring, man. Let's split. Meaning let's just immediately leave without a thought. Let's split. Well, Zen practice is splitting from that split, finding, realizing that it is null and void. The separation between you right now and me. Well, there's a screen. It's a clear separation. You're in Japan, in Kyoto. And yet, we're not separate by one hair's breadth, as we say. How else could we be communicating like this? Huh? There is no separation. Thousands of miles distance, and yet there's not any separation. This must be confirmed in your bones. Who makes the separation between self and other, self and world? Who makes that separation? Is it real? Oh, for sure. When I leave the Zendo, I put on my shoes and not yours. I go home to my home and not yours. Yes, but do we need a self-identity? to do that? Obviously not. No self puts its own shoes on. But do you see what the self-delusion does? Huh? Insecurity or ignorance or whatever. Huh? It wants to have a shell to hide behind, to protect itself. And yet, of course, it's not really hiding. It's in full view. It's not really protect. What is it protecting itself from? Have you really seen that? What is the self trying to protect itself? Not COVID. No. We don't need to close ourselves up in some self identity. Zen has radical statements, as you know. I am the world and the world is me. What? Yep. Yep. Until you have recognized that in your very bones, your Zen practice will waver. It can't be helped. That separation must be undone. That is what we give ourselves to. That is why we give all of ourselves joyfully to the practice. If you're afraid of losing yourself, face it. You don't know what yourself is. Take a good hard look. What you really should be afraid of is living the rest of your life deluded. That's hell. What is there to be afraid of? Huh? Living? No. Dying? No. See it for what it is. Stop turning it into something to love or hate. Let it be what it is. Perhaps that's what true love really is. You have, I guess, about a day and a half left to really give yourself in this practice together with a group, very mature group from all over the world. It's amazing. It's really a shame that we can't be physically together, but at the same time, this hindrance, if you would like to call it, of not being able to be physically together actually allows us to more easily be together. People from Australia, from all over Europe, from Canada, USA, Mexico, Central, South America, I don't know where. And yet we can all come together like this. Let us make good use of this precious opportunity. When you are sitting in the depths of your Zazen, see for yourself. Don't look for it, see it. What really hinders you? Huh? What can really hinder this? Where are you stuck? Where are you stuck? Where can you be stuck? Keep that single eye open. Where is the separation? What really remains in the depths of your Zazen when there's no self-consciousness at all? What remains? And again, what is lacking right here and now with pain in your knee or whatever? What is lacking? These are all just different ways of inquiring into the source itself. Again, not going out into thoughts, ideas, concepts, Buddhist, Zenistic, or otherwise, but rather right into the source of this. What remains? What is lacking? Who is this? Who is behind it all? What is this? All just different ways of inquiring into the source itself. With each breath, giving yourself. I'm exaggerating now to make the point of how to breathe. You don't have to try to force yourself to have some really extended breath. Over time, naturally, if you are giving yourself to the practice, you will see you are breathing not just from the chest, but from the belly, from the hara, from the tanden itself. And then the breath naturally, over time, becomes slower, deeper, and longer. If you try to force it, it will have the opposite effect. Just give yourself. Don't force it, but don't be lazy. Don't wander off into anything else. When you see yourself doing that, simply bring yourself back. The breath is always here. Not the thought of the breath, but the embodied breath itself. You already have it. You don't need to attain it. Simply return to the breath itself. In this way, everything comes to be gathered into one. This is how we pursue the way until that one itself becomes, in a sense, solid, completely pliable. It can respond as needed, and yet there's no wavering. There's no going out seeking. There's no pulling things in through the senses, the five senses and the mind. It's completely settled. Again, the concentration that we have worked on and developed is found to be this. It's not really something that we manipulate, develop, increase, improve. Although on the way, it's very helpful to do that rather than wander off into thoughts about it. But when the concentration has matured, when it has fully settled, take a look. That concentration is what is. What is that concentration. Pursue that to the very end. You have everything you need. Use it well.
Thank you, Jeff, for your talk, because always these talks are so incredibly inspiring, and I'm sure everybody feels that way. You started off by talking about faith, and I have a question on that, because sometimes realizing the sense of no self, of the self being an illusion sort of gets in the way with confidence in myself to do the right things. I'm not sure if that is a way of talking or thinking, or it's a point that I can raise in connection to the practice. But I would like to ask you if you could say something about that.
It's a very good point because, as a matter of fact, on the path, we may find ourselves becoming lost in a very good way, but it may not be very pleasant for the ego self when it first feels lost. We are letting go of our delusions, the things that we think we know, or the way that we view the world, and so on. All of these, we might say, assumptions, in a sense, beliefs, we let them go, we drop them. And we don't pick up another set, right? We drop our Christian beliefs and now we're going to have Buddhist ones. No, rather, we drop all of it. We drop all of it. When you're ready, it must be done, but no one can force you to do that. You must see that it is what must be done. But it's true, the self conflicted, wrapped up in itself, when its security measures start to dissolve, this can be alarming, this can be disturbing, this can be troubling for the self holding on to itself, right? So I would simply say, keep your eye open. Don't be lazy. I know you are not. Don't rush it, but keep your eye open and see the way that you must go. When you drop the delusions, yes, it can be rather unsettling for a while. But I assure you, as that trust, this faith grows, that problem dissolves. You might say, but trust in what? Faith in what? That's precisely it. Not needing to have blind beliefs. Being able to let go of everything and say, I don't know, in a very good sense. In a very good sense. The world is now wide open. I don't know. I haven't turned one thing into an object of my intellect. I don't know a thing. This is a wonderful, it's not the end, but it's a wonderful place to be. But it does require, yes, letting go of all the things that we are holding on to. When you are ready, when you see that that is what must be done, to live truly, to live really, to live sincerely, to live with and for the others, it will be done. It will be done. Does that help, Edward? Do you want to say anything else?
No, thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff, for your answer. I have a question also on trust itself, which comes up a lot for me. It's almost just clarifying maybe a little bit more what you've just said. It's what the trust is in, because often when I talk about trusting myself, but we're talking about letting go of the self. And so whether that trust is in almost an instinct that comes from deep within, which is what I feel is the sense of where I'm going. But it is scary, and it feels, I guess, insecure in a way, which is what you're talking about a moment ago, if I understood you. But I guess maybe I need a little bit more reassurance that and confidence to go down that nervous path.
I would urge you, Jenny, to see where that fear really comes from. What are you really afraid of? Living truly? I don't think so. Letting go of your delusions? All you need to let go of is your delusions. You don't have to give up your husband or your family or your friends or your career or your home. Huh?
Mm.
All you have to give up is your delusions. And I would suggest the sooner you do that, the better. But you have to, that's true. You have to see that for yourself. You have to see it for yourself. It's trusting, how to say it, trusting in the universe itself. The sun is not afraid to rise in the morning, is it, Jenny? There's a great trust, and you've touched it, I know. There's a great trust in the depths of our being. Huh? Life is not a problem. Death is not a problem. When you are really embraced in that great trust, and again, it's not blocking out doubt, it's so open that it welcomes any doubt until there can be no doubt. But you have to see this for yourself. And perhaps the best way at this point is to see clearly, what are you afraid of? Letting go of your delusions? Living truly? Consider well, Jenny. Would you like to say anything else?
Only I think from listening to what you've just said, I think I can understand better for myself. Thank you.
Confirm it in your bones. Huh?
Thank you.
Along the lines of Edward's question, when I do sit down, something more and more recognizes, as you say, that I do, or there is sufficiency. I have everything I need. The second part of what you said at the end caught me. You have everything you need. Use it well. This question of using it well, or even how do I use this well, is the koan I'm bringing up here.
Yeah.
Who is it that then uses that well? Because the only reason that I've had some sense of that I have everything as I need is that I've let go of my stupid self. So what then uses what I find well?
Brian, you ask that question every day, don't you? I know something of what you do in your work. Huh? You're working, you're helping others. Sometimes very deeply troubled situations, and you are working for others, doing what you can, aren't you? Aren't you?
Yeah, it seems to happen. Things happen.
Yeah. So what is the point of your question? Except that you must continue to see how you can best be of service to others. In a sense, that practice never ends. You follow? We must realize that, yes, this is enough. There's nowhere I need to get to. This is enough. But that's the beginning, you see. Then we go out, as you are doing, into the world where much is lacking. Many things are lacking for many people in many ways. People are suffering. What are we going to do? We're not going to solve all the problems of the world, but we will do what we can, all that. That's all that I mean. And I think you're a good example of what it is, don't you?
I guess there's a kind of confusion, but I think the confusion is okay because that's all part of the great Tao in a sense, and that there's room for that too.
Is there some confusion in that term? Use it well. What I meant by that?
Sorry, are you asking me a question there?
Yes, yes. Is your confusion around that expression, use it well?
Yeah, that's what catches me, because there's almost like then in this kind of letting go, and I'm not even letting go, I'm not doing that, it's just seeing that everything is already there. This question of using seems to initially re-establish a duality between a self and that which it has, that everything it has that it needs. So maybe this is just like, I don't know, academic or something, and I need to just trust that it'll grow and happen, and it is happening.
Keep your eye open when you're at work in the next week, okay? And I trust you will answer your own question. Yeah, I mean, use it well. That's true. It maybe is not the best choice of words. It's now you use it well. No, but in your work, I'm sure that's what you're doing. Are you doing it perfectly? Probably not. I'm far from perfect myself. So I'm continually trying to look into my weak points, my blind spots, and there are plenty. That's also using it well, you see? How can I be of better service to others? In a sense, that's what I mean. But you're right. Maybe it's not the best use of words. Use it well. Thank you for bringing that up. Maybe you can come up with a better way to phrase it. But again, I challenge you in your next week or two at work, see if you can answer your own question. Okay, Brian?
Thank you.